Assalamu alaikum everyone, and a very warm welcome to you. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful and profound passage from the Quran, specifically from the 14th chapter, Surah Ibrahim. We'll be looking closely at verses 42 through 51, which, let me tell you, offer such a compelling insight into divine justice, accountability, and what happens at the ultimate reckoning. So let's get into it and explore what these incredible verses have to teach us.
It's one of those big, timeless questions, isn't it? I think many of us have looked at the world and wondered this exact thing. You see injustice, you see oppression, and you see people who do terrible things, and they just seem to prosper, to get away with it all. So how do we square that with our belief in a God who is perfectly just? Well, this passage from the Quran actually addresses that question head-on.
And here it is, the core of the answer, right in the very first verse of this section. This is such a powerful statement. It's telling us, hey, don't ever mistake God's patience for God's ignorance. What we might see as someone getting away with something is actually a purposeful postponement. You see, the delay isn't an oversight at all. It's a deliberate part of a much bigger plan, one that's leading to a day of full and final accountability.
So let's break that down a little. How are we supposed to understand this delay? Well, the first key insight is that justice isn't being denied. Not at all. It's simply being postponed to a time when it can be delivered with perfect, absolute clarity. And that time is the day of reckoning.
Now, what's so fascinating is how this delay serves two purposes at once. For those who are suffering, who are victims of injustice, this is a message of deep reassurance. It's God saying, I see you, I know. Every single thing is being recorded. But for the oppressors, wow, it's a stark, chilling warning. Their time is temporary. The freedom they enjoy right now isn't a sign of approval. It's just the rope being let out a little longer before it's pulled taut.
So, the stage is set. And the Quran doesn't just say, hey, a day of judgment is coming. No, it goes so much further. It paints this incredibly vivid picture of what that day will actually be like. It's a day when all the hidden truths are brought into the light, and all the illusions we lived by just fall away.
And here's how the Quran so brilliantly illustrates the massive shift in perspective that will happen. We're told that on that day, our entire life on earth, all the decades of striving, of succeeding, of oppressing, it's all going to feel like a flicker. Like a single hour in a day. All those things that seemed so monumental, so important, will just shrink into total insignificance when faced with the reality of eternity.
And this brings us to a really key concept, summed up in the Arabic term sari al-hisab. It means swift in account. Now, swift here doesn't just mean fast. It means perfectly precise, totally efficient. It's this idea of a divine accounting so perfect that not a single good deed, not a single transgression, no matter how small, is ever missed. Nothing falls through the cracks.
And this is crucial. On that day, all the systems of power and influence that we rely on in this world, they're completely dismantled. The verses explain that your connections, your powerful friends, your network, it means nothing. None of it will help you. The only thing that has any value is what Allah permits. And all that clever, crooked advice and all those warped justifications that propped up injustice, they'll be exposed as totally and utterly worthless.
So this all leads us right to the heart of the matter, the outcomes. The passage makes it crystal clear that there are two starkly different destinies waiting for people, and it's based entirely on the path they chose to walk in this life.
And you can just see the perfect moral symmetry here. On one side, you have the righteous, the people who believed and tried to act with integrity. Their reward is mercy, gardens, honor, the fulfillment of God's promise. But on the other side, you have the wrongdoers, and their outcome is pure justice. They're condemned for their pride, driven to the fire, and their worldly alliances just crumble. They immediately start pointing fingers, blaming the very leaders who led them astray.
And then the Quran gives us this scene that's just so incredibly dramatic, it's truly cinematic. It describes the moment the condemned arrive at their final destination, and this powerful dialogue takes place, a dialogue that leaves absolutely no room for excuses.
Just imagine that for a moment. The gates open, and the first thing they hear is this question from the keepers. It's a challenge that cuts right to the heart of personal responsibility. The question itself has the answer baked in. You were warned. You were given the guidance. You can't possibly claim you didn't know. And their response, it's a full confession. They admit everything. They say, yes, the messengers came, but we denied them. That admission is so critical. It confirms their fate wasn't because of ignorance. It was a result of a conscious choice. They were shown the truth, and they actively chose to reject it.
So as we start to pull all of this together, what are the core lessons we should be taking away from this passage? What does it teach us about justice, accountability, and even our own lives?
Well, first, that divine accounting is perfect. A delay in justice is never a denial of it. Second, the choices we make have real, eternal consequences. The passage shows us two very clear paths with two very clear outcomes. And finally, and this one is huge, the principle of personal responsibility. Yes, misleading leaders bear a heavy, heavy burden, but ultimately, every single person is accountable for their own decision to follow the truth or to turn away from it.
And that leaves us with a final thought to really reflect on. This whole passage is a reminder of a profound reality. So, if we truly lived our lives with a deep conviction that every word, every action, every single intention was being perfectly and permanently recorded for a day of reckoning, how would that change the way we live our lives today? It's a powerful question to carry with us. Thank you for joining me.